Approach a human warship and disappear from the stars. HFY Sci-Fi Story. Outline Part 1. The warning opening scene. The Galactic Council convenes in emergency session. Ambassador Krelthar of the Vosian Confederacy presents evidence of 12 missing pirate vessels over the past cycle. All vanished near human territory. The Council dismisses human involvement. Humanity only joined Galactic Society 30 years ago and possesses primitive technology by galactic standards, the vanishing pattern. Pirate clans across 3 sectors report the same phenomenon. Crews approach human cargo vessels, communications go dark, ships disappear completely. No wreckage, no distress signals, no survivors. Galactic authorities attribute losses to internal conflicts or navigational hazards. Pirates whisper of ghost ships and the silent death. Introduction of Captain Dae-hyun. Captain Dae-hyun commands the UNSC Relentless Resolve, a human warship classified as a heavy cruiser by Earth standards. By galactic measurements, it should be a minor patrol craft. He receives orders to escort a convoy through the disputed outer margin territories. The raid attempt, the notorious Kravix marauders, emboldened by humanity's perceived weakness, intercept the convoy. Their commander, Warlord Thex, sends the standard threatening transmission. Captain Dae-hyun responds with a single sentence: "You have 30 seconds to reverse course." The disappearance Thex laughs and orders his fleet to attack positions. 29 seconds later, the Relentless Resolve drops its stealth field. The Kravix sensors explode with error messages. The small patrol craft masses 3 times their flagship. Before Thex can order a retreat, kinetic kill vehicles traveling at 0.4 C turn his fleet into expanding clouds of plasma. Total engagement time, 4 seconds. Part 2. The Investigation Council demands answers. The Vosian Confederacy loses a mining station in the attack's vicinity. They demand an investigation into human military capabilities. Earth Diplomatic Corps sends Commander Jiwoo, a naval intelligence officer, to testify before the Council. The testimony Jiwoo calmly explains human warfare doctrine. Humans don't believe in proportional response. Human ships are designed to fight peer adversaries in system-wide conflicts. What other species call warships, humans classify as armed merchant vessels. The Relentless Resolve is a mid-tier cruiser. Not even a capital ship. Galactic disbelief. The Council members refuse to believe her testimony. According to their understanding, no species wastes resources on weapon systems of such scale. Galactic warfare consists of boarding actions and limited ship-to-ship combat. Total destruction of enemy forces is considered barbaric and economically wasteful. The demonstration, Admiral Thalrex of the Unified Defense Fleet, challenges humanity to prove their claims. Commander Jiwoo agrees. She broadcasts live footage from the UNSC testing range at Proxima Station, where Destroyer Defiant tests its main battery against a 2-kilometer decommissioned asteroid fortress. The asteroid ceases to exist. The Council chamber falls silent. The warning spreads within days. Every pirate haven, smuggler port, and raider clan across the galaxy receives the same message. Approach a human warship and disappear from the stars. The phrase becomes a universal warning. Most don't believe it. Part 3. The Warlord's Pride. Introducing Warlord. Kurzex, the unbroken, greatest warlord of the Skalax Empire, built his reputation on 200 victories. He commands the largest pirate armada in 3 sectors, 80 warships ranging from corvettes to his personal battle carrier Extinction's Edge. He views the human myth as propaganda. The prize human merchant vessel, Prosperity's Dream, enters the Kelthera Nebula carrying processed rare earth elements worth a fortune. Kurzex sees an opportunity to simultaneously gain wealth and shatter humanity's inflated reputation. He commits his entire fleet. The trap Prosperity's Dream is no merchant ship. It's the UNSC Sol Ascendant, a battlecruiser running electronic warfare protocols. Captain Hyunsu has been hunting Kurzex for 6 months. The Nebula provides perfect cover for Sol Ascendant's escort fleet, 6 destroyers and 2 cruisers. The battle Kurzex's fleet enters weapons range. Sol Ascendant drops pretense. The battle is magnificently one-sided. Human point defense networks neutralize the Skalax missile swarms. Railgun batteries core 3 Skalax heavy cruisers in the opening salvo. Nuclear-pumped laser arrays slice through their shields like tissue. Kurzex orders retreat. but finds himself surrounded by the escort fleet. The end of a legend. Kurzex's last transmission begs for mercy. Captain Hyunsu responds, "You entered human space with hostile intent. There is no mercy. There is only consequence." Extinction's edge is reduced to debris. Of 80 ships, 0 survive. Captain Hyunsu files his after-action report and returns to patrol. Part 4. The political fallout. The coalition demands action. The Vosian Confederacy, Talshir Collective, and Ordanian Republic form a secret coalition. They perceive humanity as a threat to galactic stability. If humans can destroy entire fleets with casual efficiency, what prevents them from conquering their neighbors? They petition the Council for sanctions. The Human Response Ambassador Yunji addresses the Council. She explains human history. Humans nearly destroyed themselves in 3 world wars. Humanity learned that overwhelming military strength prevents conflict. Human doctrine. Peace through superior firepower. Earth has no territorial ambitions but will defend its interests absolutely. The conspiracy. The coalition doesn't accept humanity's peaceful intentions. They hire the Shadow Broker Syndicate to test human defenses. If human ships can be destroyed through cunning rather than force, it proves they're not invincible. The Shadow Broker accepts the contract. 3 million credits to eliminate a human warship. The setup. The Shadow Broker's operative, called the Whisperer, is the galaxy's premier saboteur. She infiltrates Jupiter Station disguised as a Vosian trade representative. Her mission: plant explosive devices aboard the UNSC Indomitable Will during its scheduled maintenance. The plan is flawless. The failure, the Whisperer succeeds in planting her devices but is identified by Lieutenant Youngmi, a junior security officer who notices discrepancies in the visitor's biometric data. Youngmi doesn't confront the spy directly. She reports to intelligence. Oni, Office of Naval Intelligence, allows the Whisperer to escape, but not before tagging her with nanoscale trackers. Within a week, Oni unravels the entire conspiracy, including the coalition's involvement. Part 5. The breaking point, the human ultimatum. The evidence is incontrovertible. 3 major galactic powers conspired to commit an act of war against Earth. Fleet Admiral Seung-ho addresses the Galactic Council directly. He doesn't threaten. He simply states facts. Humanity now considers the coalition hostile entities. All human ships are on high alert. Any further hostile action will be met with appropriate response. Humanity has identified 12 strategic targets in coalition space. The coalition's choice. The coalition members face an impossible decision. Their combined fleets number over 2,000 warships, but they've seen what a single human cruiser can accomplish. They demand proof of human military strength. Admiral Seung-ho agrees to provide it. Operation Glass Hammer. The human fleet conducts simultaneous live-fire exercises in neutral space. UNSC battleship Eternal Resolve vaporizes a dwarf moon with sustained bombardment. Carrier group decimates a computer-simulated enemy fleet of 500 ships in 12 minutes. Human Marines conduct a practice planetary assault that coalition military analysts describe as horrifyingly efficient. The revelation, what terrifies the coalition most. Humanity reveals they've been holding back. The demonstrated firepower represents less than 30% of Earth's total military capacity. Humanity built weapons to fight themselves, the most dangerous opponent imaginable. Against galactic powers who view warfare as limited conflict, humans possess absolute military superiority. The New Order. The coalition backs down. They issue formal apologies and reparations. The Galactic Council passes Resolution 2187, nicknamed the Human Accord. Human space is recognized as sovereign territory under full protection. No military vessels may enter human space without explicit permission. Human merchant ships are granted free passage through all Council space. Most importantly, a new galactic law: approach a human warship without authorization, and you accept the consequences. Epilogue. The long peace. 5 years later, Captain Dae-hyun, now Admiral, oversees the joint human-alien defense station at the edge of Council space. Piracy has dropped to nearly zero. Several former pirate clans have requested human assistance in establishing legitimate salvage operations. The galaxy is more peaceful than it's been in centuries. Commander Jiwoo asks Admiral Dae-hyun if he thinks humanity's reputation is deserved. He considers the question while watching a destroyer conduct routine patrols. "We didn't want to be feared," he says. We wanted to be left alone, but the galaxy only respects strength, so we showed them ours. Now they leave us alone. In the distance, a pirate vessel's sensors ping the destroyer. The pirate immediately reverses course, broadcasting apologies. The destroyer doesn't even acknowledge them. The warning has become reality. Approach a human warship and disappear from the stars. The galaxy learned this lesson. They won't forget it. The end themes explored humanity's capacity for overwhelming violence when threatened. The doctrine of peace through strength. Cultural misunderstandings in warfare. Part 2. The investigation. The mining station should not have been destroyed. It was 40,000 kilometers from where the Kravix fleet died, well outside any possible danger zone. But when plasma expands in space at relativistic speeds, distance becomes meaningless. A chunk of superheated metal the size of a transport shuttle had punched through the station's habitat section, killing 73 Vosgian workers instantly. Ambassador Krelthar stood before the Galactic Council once more, and this time his voice carried weight. This was not pirates destroying themselves. This was a military action by human forces. 73 of my people are dead because the humans used excessive force against a minor pirate raid. The council chamber filled with murmurs. Speaker Vol raised his hand for silence. The humans have submitted their battle report. The action was taken in defense of their own vessels. Under galactic law, they had the right to defend themselves. Defense does not require the complete annihilation of an attacking force, Krelthar said. Civilized species disable enemy ships and take prisoners. The humans left nothing but debris. This is barbarism. Then perhaps, Speaker Vol said carefully, we should hear from the humans themselves. I have invited a representative from Earth to address this council. A door opened at the side of the chamber. Commander Jiwoo walked in wearing a dress uniform that looked plain compared to the elaborate clothing of other military officers present. She was a small woman with a calm expression and intelligent eyes. She carried no weapons, no ceremonial items, only a data tablet. She approached the podium without hesitation. Honored Speaker, members of the Council, I am Commander Jiwoo of the United Nations Space Command Naval Intelligence Division. I am here to answer your questions about human military doctrine. Commander, Krelthar said immediately, explain why your forces find it necessary to completely destroy enemy vessels rather than disabling them as civilized species do. Jiwoo looked at him directly. Because disabled ships can be repaired. Disabled crews can regroup and attack again. Human military doctrine is simple. If you attack us, we will remove your ability to ever attack anyone again. That is barbaric, said the Tal Shir representative. That is survival, Jiwoo replied. Let me explain something about human history. We nearly destroyed ourselves 3 times before we reached the stars. We fought wars that killed millions. We built weapons that could crack planets. We learned a very important lesson from our own violence. And what lesson was that? Speaker Vol asked. That half measures cost more lives in the long run. When an enemy attacks, you do not wound them and hope they learn. You remove the threat completely. This prevents future attacks. This saves lives, including the lives of potential enemies who might think attacking you is a good idea. You speak of prevention through fear, Krelthar said, through terror. I speak of prevention through certainty, Jiwoo said. Every pirate in this region now knows that attacking human vessels means death. Not capture, not ransom, not negotiation. Death. How many pirate attacks on human ships have occurred since the Kravix incident? The council members looked at each other. Speaker Vol checked his data screen. According to our records, none. Exactly. Our doctrine works. No more humans have died, and significantly, no more pirates have died either because they have stopped attacking us. This is the most humane outcome possible. What about proportional response? Asked a counselor from the Ordanian Republic. The Kravix had 15 ships. Your vessel was 1 ship. You could have disabled a few vessels as a warning. Jiwoo shook her head. You misunderstand. The Relentless Resolve is not a large ship by human standards. It is classified as a heavy cruiser, which is a mid-tier vessel. We have destroyers, battle cruisers, battleships, and carriers. Each one is built to fight what we call peer adversaries. What does that mean? Speaker Vol asked. It means we design our military vessels to fight other human military vessels. We build our weapons assuming our enemy has the same technology, the same intelligence, and the same determination to win. In human space, warfare is not a game. It is not about honor or glory. It is about survival. The chamber fell silent. Finally, Admiral Thalrex of the Unified Defense Fleet spoke. He was a veteran of 100 small conflicts, and he had led the galactic military for 20 years. I find these claims difficult to believe. You say your heavy cruiser is a mid-tier vessel. Our intelligence suggests humans have fewer than 200 warships total. You cannot afford to make every vessel so heavily armed. Admiral, Jiwoo said respectfully. May I show you something? Proceed. Jiwoo activated her data tablet. The display screens around the council chamber lit up with a live video feed. This is Proxima Station, our primary testing facility. You are seeing this broadcast in real time. The vessel in frame is the UNSC Defiant, a destroyer-class ship, smaller than the Relentless Resolve. The footage showed a warship about half the size of a typical galactic capital ship. In the distance, an asteroid rotated slowly, its surface pocked with craters. That asteroid is approximately 2 kilometers in diameter. It was a mining facility that was decommissioned 5 years ago. Its hull is reinforced titanium steel composite, 30 meters thick in places. We use it for weapons testing. What are you going to show us? Thalrex asked, though something in his voice suggested he already knew. Watch. On the screen, the destroyer's main weapons battery charged. Energy readings spiked across multiple spectrums. Then the weapons fired. Not lasers, not plasma. Solid slugs of metal moving at relativistic speeds. The asteroid took the first impact. The slug punched through 30 meters of reinforced hull like it was paper. The second impact hit 300 meters from the first. The third, fourth, and fifth impacts came so fast they appeared almost simultaneous. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then cracks appeared across the asteroid's surface. They spread like lightning, branching and multiplying. The entire structure began to glow from internal heat. 5 seconds after the first impact, the asteroid came apart. Not exploded exactly. It simply ceased to be a solid object, fragmenting into thousands of pieces that drifted away in all directions. The council chamber was completely silent. The destroyer fired 5 rounds. Jiwoo said calmly. Total engagement time was 7 seconds. The asteroid no longer exists as a functional structure. This is what we call a standard weapons test. We conduct them monthly. Admiral Thalrex stared at the screen. His skin had changed color, a biological response to stress in his species. How many ships like this do you have? The exact number is classified, Jiwoo said. But I can tell you that destroyers are our most common warship class. We have dozens of them. And your cruisers? Your battleships? Are proportionally more powerful, as you would expect. Speaker Vol cleared his throat. Commander Jiwoo, I believe I speak for the entire council when I say that we have greatly underestimated humanity's military capabilities. Perhaps we have also misunderstood your intentions. You say you seek only to defend yourselves, but with such weapons you could conquer half the galaxy. We could, Jiwoo agreed, but we will not. Humans learned something else from our history. Conquest is expensive and ultimately pointless. We have more territory than we can currently settle. We have resources that will last centuries. We have no desire to rule other species. We simply want to be left alone to build our colonies and trade with our neighbors. Then why build such terrible weapons? Krelthar asked quietly. Jiwoo looked at him. Because we know what it means to be conquered. We know what it means to be vulnerable. We built these weapons so that no one would ever attack us. And if someone does attack us despite these weapons, we built them powerful enough to ensure that attacker never threatens anyone again. She paused, then continued. I understand this seems excessive to you. Your species have conducted warfare in a relatively civilized manner for thousands of years. Small conflicts, limited objectives, captured ships, and ransomed crews. But humans did not have that luxury. When we fought each other, we fought for survival. Those instincts do not disappear in 30 years. Will they ever disappear? Speaker Vol asked. I hope so, Jiwoo said. But until they do, I suggest that everyone in this galaxy understands one simple truth. Do not attack human ships. Do not threaten human colonies. Do not test our patience, because if you do, you will learn exactly what these weapons can do. The message spread across the galaxy within hours. News networks broadcast the footage of the asteroid test. Military analysts studied the implications. Civilian populations looked at their own defense fleets and realized how inadequate they would be against human weapons. And in the dark corners of space, in the pirate havens and smuggler ports, the warning became something more than a rumor. It became truth. approach a human warship and disappear from the stars. Most of the galaxy believed it now, but not everyone. 6 months passed before the Volran returned. 6 months of frantic preparation, alliance building and military expansion. Earth and its new allies worked together with desperate intensity. Knowing that the Empire would not forgive or forget, Commander Day, now promoted to captain, stood on the bridge of the fortress watching sensor readings. The carrier was stationed near the border of Alliance territory, where 17 different species had agreed to mutual defense. Behind him, Admiral Hyun studied tactical displays with the focused attention that had made her Earth's top military leader. "Contact," announced Lieutenant Bora from the sensor station. "Multiple faster-than-light signatures." "Volran fleet incoming. How many?" Hyun asked calmly. "Sensors are reading over 3,000 vessels, Admiral. They brought everything." Day felt his stomach tighten. 3,000 ships. The entire military might of the Empire's northern territories, all focused on crushing Earth and its allies. This was no longer about tribute or submission. This was about survival. "Get me Ambassador Taman," Hyun ordered, "and someone find out where our allied fleets are positioned." Within minutes, the communication system showed representatives from all 17 allied species. Taman spoke first, his aged face showing determination rather than fear. "Admiral, the Kelmar Union reports their fleet is ready. The Hessen Confederacy is in position. All our allies are prepared to fight." "How many ships total?" Hyun asked. "Approximately 800 vessels," replied Hana, the Kelmar representative. "Most are smaller than Volran capital ships, but our crews are motivated and well-trained, thanks to your officers' instruction these past months." 800 against 3,000. The mathematics were brutal. Even with the fortress and its advanced weapons, this would be the hardest battle humanity had ever faced. The Volran fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. At their center was a vessel that made even the fortress look small. It was at least 15 kilometers long, covered in weapons and armor plating that gleamed in the light of the nearby star. "That's the Imperator," Bora said, checking the database. "The Empire's flagship. It's never been defeated in battle. Korthan is commanding from that ship." A communication channel opened and Korthan's face filled the main screen. He looked different than before. Older somehow, harder. "Humans," he said, his voice cold and controlled. "6 months ago, you humiliated the Empire. You destroyed our fleet and made us look weak before the entire galaxy. This cannot stand. Today we will erase that mistake. Today Earth dies." "You can try," Hyun replied. "But you should know that we're not alone anymore. 17 species stand with us, and all of them are ready to fight." Korthan laughed, but there was no humor in it. 17 species of cowards and weaklings. They will die alongside you. The Empire has ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. We will rule it for 3,000 more. No alliance of inferior races can change that. "We'll see," Hyun said simply, and cut the communication. She turned to face her crew. Day could see determination in every face, human and alien alike. The fortress had become more than just an Earth vessel. It was a symbol of hope for species that had lived under tyranny for generations. "All fighters launch," Hyun commanded. All allied fleets moved to attack positions. This is not just about Earth anymore. This is about every species that ever refused to kneel to bullies. Show them what we can do. The fortress launched its full complement of 800 fighters. The Allied fleets moved into coordinated formations, using tactics that Earth's military advisors had spent months teaching them. It wasn't enough to match the Volran's numbers, but it was a start. The battle began with both sides firing at maximum range. The space between the fleets filled with energy weapons, missiles, and the strange gravitational distortions of Earth's advanced technology. Ships on both sides died in the first minutes, torn apart by weapons fire or crushed by gravity wells. The Volran pushed forward with overwhelming force, trying to break through the Allied lines and reach the fortress. They knew that destroying the carrier would break the Alliance's spirit. But the Allied ships fought with desperate courage, throwing themselves at Volran vessels to protect Earth's supercarrier. "The Kelmar cruiser Brightness is down," Bora reported. "The Hessen destroyer Cloudrunner is badly damaged. Admiral, we're losing ships faster than the Volran are." "Hold position," Hyun ordered. "Trust the plan." Day understood what she meant. They weren't trying to win a straight battle. They were buying time. Deep in the fortress's engineering sections, Chief Engineer Minseo worked frantically at the carrier's primary weapon system. It was technology even more advanced than the gravity weapons the fighters used. It was called the Singularity Projector, and it had never been tested in actual combat. Status? Hyun asked over the internal communication channel. 2 more minutes, Admiral, Minseo replied, sweat dripping down her face. The weapon needs to charge fully or it won't work. You have 90 seconds, Hyun said. After that, the Volran will break through our defensive line. The Allied fleets fought with everything they had. The Kelmar ships used their advanced sensors to coordinate attacks, finding weak points in Volran shields. The Hessen vessels focused on hit-and-run tactics, striking fast and retreating before the enemy could respond. Species that had never worked together before were fighting as a unified force. But it wasn't enough. The Volran were too numerous, too experienced, too well-armed. Slowly but surely they pushed forward. The Imperator led the charge, its massive weapons tearing through Allied ships like paper. 30 seconds, Minseo announced. Corthan's face appeared on the screen again, transmitted across all channels. Is this your great alliance, humans? Is this the force that will change the galaxy? Watch as it crumbles. Watch as everything you built turns to ash. The Imperator fired its main cannon directly at the fortress. The shot was powerful enough to destroy a small moon. It crossed the distance in seconds, and stopped, held in place by the fortress's gravity field, the energy unable to reach the carrier's hull. Weapon charged, Minseo said. Firing now. The front of the fortress opened, revealing a weapon system that looked like a massive lens. Energy gathered there, warping space itself. Day had read the technical reports about the Singularity Projector, but reading about it and seeing it were very different things. The weapon fired. A point of absolute darkness appeared directly in front of the Volran fleet. It was small at first, barely visible, but it grew rapidly. It was a miniature black hole, artificially created and directed at the enemy formation. Ships near the Singularity simply vanished, pulled into gravitational forces so strong that nothing could escape. The effect spread outward like ripples in water. Dozens of Volran vessels were destroyed in seconds. Hundreds more had to break formation and retreat to avoid the same fate. The entire enemy fleet fell into chaos. Ships collided with each other trying to escape. Communication channels filled with panicked voices. The organized assault became a desperate scramble for survival. Target the Imperator, Hyun ordered. The Singularity moved, guided by the fortress's control systems. It drifted toward Corthan's flagship like death incarnate. The massive vessel tried to run, its engines burning at full power, but it wasn't fast enough. Corthan, Hyun said, opening a communication channel. You wanted to teach the galaxy a lesson. Here's ours. Power without justice is tyranny. Size without wisdom is weakness. Your empire built itself on fear and violence. Today you learn that eventually someone always fights back. The Singularity reached the Imperator. The flagship's shields meant nothing against a weapon that warped space itself. The entire vessel was pulled inward, crushed and compressed until it simply ceased to exist. Corthan died without another word. The remaining Volran fleet broke completely. Ships activated their faster-than-light drives and jumped away in every direction, fleeing without any attempt at coordination. The great Imperial Armada had been shattered by a weapon they couldn't fight and couldn't understand. The Allied fleets didn't pursue. They had won, but the cost was high. Nearly half of the Allied vessels had been destroyed or damaged beyond repair. Thousands of brave beings had died to defend their freedom. Shut down the weapon, Hyun ordered. Begin rescue operations for survivors. That includes Volran survivors. We're not like the Empire. We don't kill defeated enemies. The bridge crew began coordinating rescue missions while Day checked the wider tactical situation. Sensors showed that news of the battle was spreading across the galaxy at incredible speed. Everyone was watching to see what happened next. Ambassador Taman appeared on the communication screen, speaking from the diplomatic station. Admiral, I'm receiving messages from dozens of species. They're asking about joining the Alliance. Even some current Volran subject states are requesting protection. How many? Hyun asked. 43 so far, and more are coming every minute. Day felt a chill run down his spine. The galaxy was changing right before their eyes. The Volran Empire's defeat had shown every oppressed species that resistance was possible, that the great powers could be challenged. Over the next week, the Alliance grew from 17 species to 68. The Volran Empire, shocked by the loss of their flagship and their most powerful fleet. Part 4. The Political Fallout. The secret meeting took place on a neutral station in the outer reaches, far from the watchful censors of the Galactic Council. 3 ambassadors sat around a table in a room that had been swept for listening devices 5 times. They were taking no chances. Ambassador Krelthar of the Vosian Confederacy spoke first. The destruction of Kurzex's fleet confirms our fears. The humans are not simply defending themselves. They are demonstrating overwhelming force to intimidate the entire galaxy. Ambassador Shalnek of the Talshir Collective clicked her mandibles in agreement. 80 ships destroyed in 12 minutes. My military analysts say this is impossible without weapons designed specifically for mass destruction. The humans are not building defensive systems. They are building weapons of conquest. The third ambassador, Mortak of the Ordanian Republic, leaned back in his chair. We must consider the possibility that the humans are telling the truth. Perhaps they simply have different ideas about warfare. Different, Krelthar's voice rose. They annihilate entire fleets without accepting surrender. They use weapons that leave no survivors. This is not different. This is barbaric. Barbaric or not, it is effective, Mortak said. Piracy in human territory has dropped to 0. Even the most desperate raiders avoid their space now. Because they are terrified, Shalnek said. And today it is pirates. But what happens tomorrow? What happens when the humans decide they want more territory, more resources? What happens when they turn these weapons against legitimate governments? The 3 ambassadors sat in silence, each contemplating the same nightmare scenario. A human fleet appearing in their space, overwhelming their defenses in minutes, dictating terms with the threat of annihilation backing every word. We need to act, Krelthar said finally, but we cannot move openly. The Galactic Council is paralyzed by fear. If we propose sanctions against the humans, we will be accused of warmongering. Then we do not move through the Council, Mortak said. We move through other channels. Shalnek understood immediately. You mean the Shadow Broker? I mean, we test human defenses using methods they cannot trace back to us. If we can prove that human ships can be destroyed through cunning, rather than direct force, it will show the galaxy that they are not invincible. The Shadow Broker does not work cheaply, Krelthar said. Then we pool our resources, Mortak replied. 3 million credits split equally. The contract is simple. Eliminate 1 human warship. Any ship will do. We just need to prove it can be done. After a long pause, Krelthar nodded. Agreed. Agreed, Shalnek said. The contract was placed within the hour. The Shadow Broker accepted. Her name, the one she used, was the Whisperer. She had eliminated generals, destroyed military installations, and toppled governments. She had never failed a contract in 15 years. The target was the UNSC Indomitable Will, a destroyer currently docked at Jupiter Station for scheduled maintenance. According to intelligence, the ship would be vulnerable for the next 6 days while its systems were offline for upgrades. The Whisperer arrived at Jupiter Station with papers identifying her as a Vosian trade representative. Her credentials were perfect because they were genuine, stolen from an actual official who was currently enjoying an extended vacation on a remote pleasure world, completely unaware that his identity had been borrowed. Security at Jupiter Station was tight but not impossible. The Whisperer had studied human procedures for months. She knew their protocols, their shift changes, their blind spots. She moved through the station with the confidence of someone who belonged there. The Indomitable Will sat in the main dock. Its hull opened in sections as maintenance crews worked on the internal systems. The Whisperer walked past it twice, memorizing the layout and security patterns. She identified 3 access points where explosive devices could be placed to cause catastrophic damage. On the 3rd day of her visit, she made her move. The devices were small, sophisticated, and completely undetectable by standard scanners. She placed them during a shift change when the security presence was thinnest, using forged work orders to access restricted areas. The devices were set to detonate in 48 hours, long after she would be gone. The explosions would look like accidents, tragic failures in the maintenance process. By the time anyone suspected sabotage, she would be 3 sectors away. She was packing her belongings in her quarters when someone knocked on her door. Trade representative, a voice called. This is station security. We need to verify your credentials. The Whisperer's mind raced through possibilities. This was routine. It had to be routine. She opened the door with a smile. A young human woman in a security uniform stood there with a data pad. She was small, with careful eyes that seemed to take in everything. "I'm Lieutenant Youngmi. I apologize for the interruption, but we're conducting random security checks. May I see your identification?" The Whisperer handed over her forged credentials. They were perfect. They would pass any inspection. Lieutenant Youngmi scanned them and nodded. "Thank you. Everything appears to be in order." She handed back the identification and turned to leave. The Whisperer allowed herself to relax. "A random check, nothing more." "One question," Youngmi said, turning back. "Your biometric scan shows a 0.73% variance from your recorded profile. It is within acceptable parameters, but I am curious. Have you been ill recently?" "I had a minor cold last week," the Whisperer said smoothly. "Perhaps that affected the reading." "Perhaps," Youngmi said. She smiled. "Enjoy your stay." The Whisperer closed the door and immediately began erasing all evidence of her presence. A 0.73% variance. That was at the very edge of detection, almost impossible to notice. This Lieutenant Youngmi was either very good or very lucky. She left Jupiter Station 6 hours later, well ahead of schedule. The devices remained in place. The mission was complete. What the Whisperer did not know was that Lieutenant Youngmi had not simply noticed the variance. She had reported it to Station Intelligence immediately. The Office of Naval Intelligence did not believe in coincidences. Oni examined the Whisperer's movements through the station. They reviewed every access request, every corridor she had walked, every door she had opened. They found the forged work orders. They found the devices. They also found something else. When the devices were carefully removed and analyzed, they contained manufacturing signatures that traced back to specific suppliers. Those suppliers had records. Those records led to accounts. Those accounts led to the shadow broker. And the shadow broker's encrypted communications, once Oni dedicated sufficient resources to breaking them, led directly to the secret meeting between Krelthar, Shalnek, and Mortak. Admiral Seung-ho reviewed the intelligence report in his office at Fleet Command. He was an older man with gray hair and the expression of someone who had seen too much and been surprised by too little, but this report surprised him. 3 council species conspired to destroy one of our ships, he said to Commander Jiwoo, who stood across from his desk. "Yes, sir," Jiwoo replied. "They hired the shadow broker. The operative was one of the best in the galaxy. She almost succeeded." "Almost," Seung-ho repeated. Lieutenant Youngmi noticed a variance of less than 1%. "Lieutenant Youngmi has exceptional attention to detail, sir." "Indeed." Seung-ho set down the report. "Commander, what do you recommend?" Jiwoo had already prepared her answer. "We have 2 options. We can expose the conspiracy publicly, which would humiliate 3 major governments and potentially destabilize the Galactic Council. Or we can use this information privately to send a message that any future attacks will have consequences." "What kind of consequences?" "The kind that remind the galaxy why attacking us is a bad idea, sir." Seung-ho was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "Prepare a briefing for the Galactic Council. Make it thorough. Make it undeniable. And make sure these 3 ambassadors understand exactly how close they came to starting a war they could not win." "Yes, sir." "And Commander, find out what other assignments Lieutenant Youngmi is qualified for. That level of attention to detail should be rewarded." The briefing was scheduled for the following week. The 3 conspirators did not yet know their plan had failed. They did not yet know they had been discovered, but they would learn soon enough. The galaxy was about to receive another lesson in why approaching human warships was a mistake. But this lesson would be different. This lesson would be about what happened when you attacked humans in their own home. Part 5. The Breaking Point. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. Every seat was filled. Representatives from every member species watched as Fleet Admiral Seung-ho walked to the central podium. He carried no notes, no data pad. He did not need them. "Honored Speaker, members of the Council," he began. 1 week ago, an operative hired by the shadow broker attempted to destroy a human warship while it was docked at Jupiter Station for maintenance. The attack failed because one of our security officers noticed something wrong. We captured the operative and traced the contract back to its source. The chamber remained silent. Several ambassadors shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The contract was placed by 3 governments represented in this chamber. The Vosian Confederacy, the Telshir Collective, and the Ordanian Republic pooled 3 million credits to hire an assassin to destroy our ship and kill our crew. This was not a pirate raid. This was not a random attack. This was a conspiracy by member governments to commit an act of war against humanity. Seung-ho activated the display screens. Encrypted communications appeared, already translated. Meeting records, financial transfers. The entire conspiracy laid out in undeniable detail. Ambassador Krelthar stood. "Admiral, I can explain." "Sit down," Seung-ho said. His voice was not loud, but every person in the chamber felt the weight behind those two words. Krelthar sat. "You will speak when I have finished. 3 governments decided that humanity posed a threat. You decided that our military capabilities were too great, that our presence endangered the galaxy. You may have believed you had good reasons. You may have convinced yourselves you were acting to prevent future conflict. But what you actually did was commit an act of war." Seung-ho paused. Under galactic law, humanity would be justified in responding with military force. We could have sent fleets to your homeworlds. We could have demanded reparations. We could have made you understand the consequences of attacking us. But we did not. We brought this evidence to the Council instead because we believe in the rule of law. We believe in justice. However, we also believe in consequences. 3 governments attempted to destroy our ship. 3 governments must now understand exactly what that means. Speaker Vol cleared his throat. "Admiral, what does humanity demand?" "Nothing," Seung-ho said. "We demand nothing. But we will show you something. We will show the galaxy exactly what they have been testing." The display screens changed. New images appeared showing military vessels and weapons facilities. For the past 30 years, humanity has been careful about revealing our full military capabilities. We showed you a destroyer's weapons. We showed you a cruiser in combat. But we never showed you everything because we did not want to frighten the galaxy. We wanted to be good neighbors. That time is over. You wanted to know what humanity can do? We will show you. Over the next hour, Admiral Seung-ho presented a complete overview of human military power. The Council saw things they had never imagined. Battleships that massed 5 times what they considered capital ships. Carrier groups that could project power across entire sectors. Marines trained in combat techniques that made galactic special forces look like children. Weapons that could crack moons, sterilize continents, or simply erase fleets from existence. But the most frightening revelation came at the end. Everything I have shown you, Seung-ho said, represents approximately 30% of Earth's total military capacity. The rest is classified. You wanted to know if we could conquer the galaxy. Yes, we could. Not easily, and not without cost. But we could do it. We choose not to. The chamber was completely silent. However, Seung-ho continued, we will not tolerate further attacks. To make this clear, the human fleet will conduct training exercises over the next 3 days. These exercises will take place in neutral space, and all council members are invited to observe. You will see what happens when we stop holding back. The exercises were called Operation Glass Hammer, and they were exactly what Seung-ho promised. Thorough, complete, and absolutely terrifying. The first exercise took place near an uninhabited dwarf moon. The UNSC Eternal Resolve, a battleship, positioned itself at maximum weapons range. Observers watched from safe distances as the ship's main batteries fired sustained bombardment for 6 minutes. When the dust cleared, the moon had been reduced to a field of slowly tumbling rocks. Nothing remained that was larger than a house. The observers calculated that a planet's entire surface could be rendered uninhabitable in less than 4 hours using the same technique. The second exercise demonstrated fleet combat capabilities. A computer simulation generated a theoretical enemy fleet of 500 ships using typical galactic designs. A human carrier group consisting of 1 carrier, 4 cruisers, and 8 destroyers engaged the simulated fleet. The engagement lasted 12 minutes. The final count showed 0 human losses and 473 enemy ships destroyed. The remaining 27 ships would have escaped, though all were heavily damaged. Military analysts from every council species studied the data in shock. The human formation had been perfect. The weapon coordination had been flawless. The simulated enemy fleet had done everything correctly, according to standard galactic tactics. It had not mattered. The third exercise demonstrated ground combat capabilities. Human Marines conducted a practice planetary assault on an uninhabited world with terrain similar to populated planets. The observers watched as dropships descended, under simulated enemy fire, as Marines established beachheads and as armored units rolled across continents. The speed was horrifying. Within 18 hours, the humans had secured all major population centers, destroyed all military installations, and established complete orbital control. Council military officers who watched the exercise described it as the most efficient invasion in recorded history. But the exercises were not just demonstrations, they were threats, and everyone understood that. On the fourth day, Admiral Seung-ho addressed the council once more. "You have seen what we can do. Now I will tell you what we will do if any further attacks occur. We have identified 12 strategic targets in Vosian, Talshir, and Ordanian space. Military installations, weapons factories, fleet yards. If another attack happens, these targets will cease to exist. Not through negotiation, not through warning. They will simply be destroyed." Ambassador Krelthar stood again, and this time Seung-ho allowed it. "Admiral," Krelthar said, his voice shaking slightly, "the Vosian Confederacy offers its sincere apologies for the conspiracy. We acted out of fear. We see now that this fear was misplaced. We do not seek conflict with humanity." Ambassador Shalnek rose. "The Talshir Collective adds its apologies. We will accept whatever reparations humanity demands." Ambassador Mortak was the last to stand. "The Ordanian Republic deeply regrets its participation in this conspiracy. We ask for humanity's forgiveness and for the opportunity to rebuild trust." Seung-ho looked at each of them in turn. "Your governments will submit formal apologies. You will pay reparations to cover the cost of increased security measures. You will provide complete intelligence on the Shadow Broker Syndicate, and you will never, ever test us again. Are these terms acceptable?" "Yes," all three ambassadors said in unison. "Then we will consider this matter resolved." Seung-ho turned to Speaker Volum. "However, to prevent future misunderstandings, I propose that the Council establish new protocols regarding human space." "What protocols do you suggest?" Speaker Vol asked. "Simple ones. Human space is recognized as sovereign territory under full protection. No military vessels enter without explicit permission. Human merchant ships are granted free passage through all Council space. And, most importantly, a formal declaration that approaching a human warship without authorization is an act of aggression with immediate consequences." The vote was unanimous. Resolution 2187, quickly nicknamed the Human Accord, passed within the hour. 5 years later, Captain Dae-hyun stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, watching ships move through the busy traffic lanes. He wore an admiral's insignia now, and his responsibilities had grown considerably. Unity Station was a joint human-alien facility built at the edge of Council space, serving as both a trade hub and a defense outpost. Commander Ji-woo joined him at the window. She had been promoted as well, now serving as the station's intelligence chief. "The quarterly piracy report came in," she said. "Incidents are down another 12%. We are at the lowest levels in recorded galactic history." "Because the pirates learned," Dae-hyun said. "Some the easy way, through warnings. Others the hard way, through experience. But they all learned. Several former pirate clans have requested our help in establishing legitimate salvage operations. They want to learn human business practices, and we will help them. That was always the point. We never wanted to rule anyone. We just wanted peace." A patrol destroyer glided past the station, its hull gleaming in the light of the nearby star. A cargo convoy waited patiently for clearance to proceed. Everything was orderly. Everything was peaceful. Ji-woo watched the ships move. "Do you think they will ever stop being afraid of us?" Dae-hyun considered the question. It was one he had thought about often. "I do not know. Fear can turn into respect given time, but it takes a long time, and we cannot control how others see us.